Um, See, it seems to me that you're an extremely creative individual who works in a corporate kind of setting, right? So it's like a work, like a result oriented setting. So it seems like a lot of the stuff, like the creative process is forwards, right? You're kind of you're trying to figure out what's going to happen. You're trying to create, which is always forwards. You can't create backwards. But a corporate process is backwards. So you have like they'll tell you we want you to submit this in the next week. So
Hmm.
how do you kind of fine tune that? Where do you let those two things meet?
Uh, because I disagree with both definitions,
Okay,
so that's a
go
completely
for it. Go
different
for it. Please
conversation.
do.
Uh, I think uh, I think a lot of people think creativity is it's like a how do I say it? It's to me it's a honed skill.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to like it is not like I'm creative today, I will not be creative tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it is also that I have to show up every day or every hour, and sometimes the work is not creative.
Mm.
It's not, you can't always be creative. Like you can't just be making the next path breaking idea. I'm not making a patent, I'm not a
Yeah.
scientist. Yeah, I am going to create from nothing, I'm making something which is great. But that process is, but then to bring it to life is just making. After that idea comes, to bring it to life is, you're not creating new stuff all the time.
Correct.
So I feel like creativity is best done with some sort of framework, or like,
Mm.
if you give a designer or a creative person an open canvas, they will have nowhere to start.
Yeah.
Usually, if there are some sort of boundaries or some sort of framework, like you tell me that, okay, you have 3 hours to do something, there is a better output, or like there is like a, um, what do you call, restrictive set of things that you can do, or it can only be black and white, or the fact that it has to work at like 20 mm size, or the fact that it can only be printed in a certain
Yeah.
fashion, or it can be on a digital. Those restrictions allow for better output. If there is like an open canvas, it's very hard to begin. So for most creative people, a certain sense of canvas, or it could be self-built. You could invent it in your own hand.
Yeah.
In a corporate practice, somebody gives it to you. That's
Yeah.
the only difference. But that usually helps. Uh, I feel like that's the difference between somebody who designs and somebody who creates art. Art has no boundaries, and art has no specifications, and you could just paint because you feel like painting, but that does not have any business or commercial value,
Yeah.
like in a sense that, yeah, paintings do sell eventually and you become famous and all of that,
Yeah.
but it doesn't it's not an inherent, like somebody can buy it for a certain price all the time. Like it's not like if you paint for a certain value today, that value is consistently going to stay
And
the
neither is
same.
it a service, right?
uh,
You're offering a service. You're offering something which is a
and
reliable service. I'm not going to go to an artist and say, "Hey man, make like I trust you. The next thing you're making, I'm going to buy it." Unless you're like an MF Hussain or someone. I'm still going to
yeah,
see the
exactly.
product and buy it. But when I'm going to you, I'm going to your brand. I'm going to say, "Hey, guys, listen, just make me this," and it's got to be a standard at a certain level.
Yes, correct. I totally 100% agree with that. I feel like it's a service design experience, and you're always in this, like, what do you call, you're designing for a service business, and it's always, pretty spectacular from that
Yeah.
angle. That the fact that you are, it's not just random,
Yeah.
basically. And, it's not a it's like, I think there is a, sort of famous sort of quote that it said is like, design is not it's not a form of art, but it's a function of business. It's a service and not an end in itself. And I think that's what's important, that most people need to remember,
Right.
that design is always in the service of the business. Like, what is the end output? What is the business impact? You can't design without, I mean, that's what we tell people as well. You have a responsibility as a designer. I mean, also, like, there's a very famous Netflix show called Abstract that really talks about, like, I think there are 2 seasons that are done, and there are designers in every season, and they, like I said, so you have like a product designer or a graphic designer or a lighting designer, experiential designer. There are different people who are doing different things. And in the second season, one of the show, it's called Ian Spalter. He's the head of design at Instagram, and he designed the new app experience, and he defined infinite scroll.